Hi, well, I'm Tony Robinson. I work for Corning Optical Communications. I'm the Global Marketing Applications Manager for our data centre solutions, and it's great to be back here in London. Been a kind of phenomenal explosion in terms of requirements. So there's a lot of new applications out there. Artificial intelligence, in particular machine learning, is driving the need for speed. And then we've got other applications, augmented and virtual reality, the Internet of Things, and then everybody's ramping up for when 5G will really hit, because that's going to put an awful lot of demand and load on the DC. So the presentation we did this week at the show was helping our customers understand what the different transceiver technologies are, what the roadmap is, what they can expect to see as they migrate to those higher speeds to take advantage of the benefits these new applications will give them. We've seen a lot of 100 gig shipping, both multi-mode and single mode. The presentation went through all of the different options, WDM variants and parallel optics. And the benefits that parallel optics delivers is the capability to break those 100 gigabit speeds down to 25 gig server connections. So appreciating additional benefits in terms of cost savings. So we've talked about total cost of ownership, but it's total cost of opportunity for the business. If we can help them to deploy solutions that make it quicker, faster, easier, scalable, so that they've got a very simple migration path to these higher speeds, obviously that means that they've got the opportunity to deliver revenue on a much earlier basis. And when we're talking in the multi-tenant environment, the co-location space, it's all about speed to revenue for those guys. So again, if there's anything we can do to help them there. So we went from we're currently at 100 gigabit. The natural thought was we'd migrate straight to 400 gig, and in fact it was only in the last 2 weeks we've seen announcements from Arista and Cisco that their 400 gigabit products will start shipping end of this year or the beginning of 2019. But that's only in the parallel optics, the QSFP or OSFP footprint. And typically the challenge is that the WDM optics follow 2 to 3 years later down the line. But some of our customers are already wanting to get that 400 gigabit speed. And this is where 200 gig could really come into play. It kind of went quiet for a while, but because of the next phase of the 400 gig optics, we may see people deploying multiples of 200 gig to get those 400 gigabit speeds. WDM is nothing new, wavelength division multiplexing. It's been used in the carrier networks for a lot of years, and it's basically multiplexing multiple bandwidths onto a single pair of fibres. So in our environment we've got bidirectional, so that's sending two signals at different wavelengths. You've got the universal transceiver from Arista and Juniper, and then you've got the SWDM transceiver, and they multiplex 4 different wavelengths down a single pair of fibres and then demultiplex them at the other end. Now this is great in terms of fibre plant, it's only two cables. However, you've got complex and expensive electronics in those transceivers to convert that signal down. And this is where parallel optics really comes into play. So it's still the only IEEE approved application for 4800 gig. And basically we take 8 fibres, we transmit 4 wavelengths in one direction, and then we receive 4 in the other. And as I alluded to earlier, what that technology enables you to do is take a higher speed, 100 or 2 or 400 gigabit, and then break that down into 4 smaller subsections so that your cost per port to deploy, the power usage versus native 4 transceivers, and then obviously the density environment. So data center real estate is expensive. So anything that the user can do to reduce the footprint that they need is of benefit. And we've seen from the major transceiver vendors that about 50 to 55% of all multi-mode SR4 transceivers are used for that port breakout capability. So it's really down to the customer preference, down to the way they design, the way that they deploy, the way that they operate their network. What we're seeing from the major operators, these mega or hyper data centers, a large majority of those are using parallel single mode. Now, if you look at the traditional single mode, you're looking at transceivers that either have 2 kilometre or 10 kilometre reach. But these facilities don't need that type of distance or capability. What the parallel single mode optics allows them to do is it provides a maximum of 500 metres. So of course it's using less costly components and therefore driving the cost of the single mode down. Traditionally, single mode started as 3 or even 5 times the price of the multi-mode transceiver. But what we've seen in the marketplace, especially with 100 gigabit, is price parity. So an SR4 or a PSM transceiver are almost the same price, and so that's where the customers are really taking advantage and the benefit of this. And then obviously, as I said earlier, Peter, if you were to go down the WDM route, because they tend to follow the parallel optics 2 to 3 years down the line, you could find yourself sitting waiting for a technology and therefore frustrating your business in not being able to achieve the key deliverables. And so we tell our customers, whether you're using WDM or whether you're using parallel optics, if you plan to deploy parallel today on your fibre infrastructure, then you can support all the different transceiver types that are available. If you were to deploy a 2 fibre based infrastructure and then your requirements changed, you'd obviously need to invest in a lot more fibre. So this is my 4th DCD event this year. I did New York, San Francisco, Dallas last week, and now here in London. London's always been a great event for us. It's very popular. It's a great set of customers that are invited along, and we always have some very exciting conversations, not just with our existing customers, but new customers that are looking to take advantage of some of the benefits that our solutions can offer them. So it's something we're very pleased with.